They say toddlers don't understand violence, but when a heavy oak door caught the bridge of my 6-month-old's nose, I felt the crack vibrate up my shins. Blood bloomed on her cheek in a perfect crescent, while the 2-year-old who caused it stood on the porch, chest heaving, completely unfazed. That's when the question hit me, cold and sharp: when does protecting a child cross the line into breeding a monster? I can still taste the stale coffee in my sister-in-law's kitchen the day she finally left. 18 months ago, she packed 2 duffel bags and a cracked car seat, escaping a marriage that felt like walking on live wire. The aftermath brought a false sense of calm. Her 4-year-old stopped flinching at slammed cabinets. His crayon drawings shifted from jagged black spikes to lopsided suns. I let my shoulders drop. I thought we'd cleared the minefield, but the silence didn't last. It just bred something worse. Claire, barely 2 when the divorce finalized, learned fast that quiet doesn't get you what you want. Volume does. Force does. Her tantrums weren't messy accidents. They were calculated. She'd go rigid, drop to the floor, and hammer her tiny fists into her mother's shins until the skin bruised purple. The adults didn't step in. They caved. Every scream ended in a juice box. Every bite earned a tighter hug. They were teaching her that destruction was a currency, and inflation was rapid. I stopped waiting for her to outgrow it. I started building walls. When my 5-year-old's birthday approached, I sat on his mattress at 3 a.m., tracing plastic stars, and made the call. I canceled the party, not out of spite, but because I'd run the math: 3 other kids plus Claire plus a dozen overstimulated grandparents equals a shattered cake stand, a scratched eye, and 0 accountability. I traded communal joy for isolated safety. Early museum trips, empty trails. I told myself it was temporary. It wasn't. Gravity always pulls you back to the crash site. Late summer forced our hands. A mandatory family water park trip. The chlorine already burned my throat by the time we hit the shallow end. Claire trailed us in a neon swimsuit, eerily calm, until the smell of grease and pepperoni hit. The switch flipped, pupils dilated, jaw clamped shut. When the snack shack refused to strip the pepperoni, she hit the wet concrete backward, spraying water and kicking until her heels blistered. She screamed obscenities a 2-year-old has no business knowing, flailing so hard she nearly tipped a rented stroller into the drain. Her grandparents didn't pull her up. They pulled out their phones. They recorded it, laughing nervously, calling it spirited. I stood there, dripping, watching them prioritize content over correction. The water wasn't what drowned us. I returned to their house that Saturday running on fumes and a heavy dose of S-Rye. My fiancé was working the line. I was the designated boundary enforcer. The grandparents had the kids while my sister-in-law pulled a double. Noon arrived. The house was too still. Claire slept, a false ceasefire. When she woke, she didn't ask for water. She pointed at the coffee table. She wanted cocomelon. At max volume, everyone had agreed to a strict no-screen rule before 6. It lasted exactly 10 minutes. The nursery rhymes blared. Her face went slack, hypnotic. My 6-month-old sat on the braided rug, ignored, babbling at a plastic star. My molars ached from clenching. I bit my inner cheek until I tasted copper. I told myself to hold the line, to let the shift pass. I was wrong to wait. 2 o'clock. Tires crunched. The screen door slapped shut. My sister-in-law walked in, uniform damp, eyes hollow. The moment Claire heard the car engine cut, the screen time trance shattered. She dropped the phone face down and detonated. She refused her shoes. She hurled a sippy cup into the hallway mirror. Then she turned to her mother and hissed, "I hate you," with surgical precision. She pivoted, yelled it at her grandmother, and bolted. Straight for the bathroom. The deadbolt clicked like a hammer falling. I shifted my 6-month-old to my left hip, bracing my shoulder. I heard frantic nails scraping drywall. I stepped forward to ask what she needed. The door didn't just open. It detonated inward. Claire erupted like a kinetic missile. Eyes wide, mouth open. No warning. The heavy oak door swung inward on its own momentum and caught my daughter square in the face. The impact sounded like a melon splitting on tile. A shockwave shot up my arm. Before I could drop to my knees, the rebound slammed the doorframe against my right foot. The reinforced toe of my sandal crushed 2 metatarsals against the threshold. White noise flooded my ears. I gasped, folding onto the floorboards. My baby's wail finally pierced the air. Claire didn't flinch. She stood on the patio, chest heaving, and screamed louder than the injured infant. A high, relentless frequency that vibrated my teeth. Nobody moved. Then my sister-in-law sighed and laughed, a soft, defeated chuckle. She stepped right over my bleeding toes, walked past the bruising baby, and scooped the shrieking toddler into her arms. "She's just overtired," she whispered, carrying her to the car. That chuckle severed something permanent. I wasn't looking at a difficult phase. I was watching a conditioning lab. They had taught her that violence guarantees comfort. My sister-in-law buckled the still thrashing Claire into the back seat, murmuring empty promises, while my infant hiccuped against my collarbone. I pulled out my phone, thumbed open the camera, hit record. I didn't yell. I didn't plead. I just held the lens steady. The digital counter ticked forward. Claire's screams grew frantic, purely theatrical, completely detached from the harm shed just caused. I kept filming until the taillights vanished around the bend, until the porch settled into a heavy, copper-tasting silence. Tomorrow they'll call with hollow apologies. Tonight, I have the footage. Resentment isn't a flaw when you're sitting in the wreckage of someone else's denial. And I'm done pretending the door never swung.
Hello, I'm Dr. Julian Reed. What we observe here is a textbook case of family accommodation of dysregulated behavior. Well-intentioned caregivers are inadvertently reinforcing aggressive outbursts through inconsistent boundaries and emotional rescue. The child at 2 years old is not pathologically malicious. She is learning, every tantrum met with comfort, every scream that successfully redirects adult attention, every slammed door that goes uncorrected teaches a brutal, undeniable lesson: chaos yields control. This is operant conditioning in its purest form. At 2, emotional regulation is entirely external. Without consistent boundaries, the child cannot internalize them. The result is not a bad child, but an unmoored one who has learned that volume and physical force are highly effective navigation tools. Your visceral reaction is cold aversion. This protective fury is not a character flaw. It is a rational alarm. Your nervous system is detecting the erosion of safety for your infant, while the surrounding adults actively mute their own alarms. The resentment you harbor isn't directed at a toddler. It's directed at the architecture of enablement that surrounds her. You are medicated, boundary setting, and exhausted. Of course, your system defaults to defensive aggression. To pathologize your protective instinct would be to ignore the fundamental truth: you are performing triage in a system that has normalized danger. Withdrawing and creating distance isn't cruelty. It's survival. Observe the sequence closely. The toddler screams louder than the injured baby. Not because she lacks empathy, but because she has been conditioned to believe her distress supersedes all others. The chuckle from her mother, the gentle coaxing into the car, the refusal to address the physical injuries are active reinforcements. In that exact moment, your infant's pain became secondary to the management of a 2-year-old's emotional storm. That is not parenting. It is conflict avoidance dressed as love. The grandparent's capitulation during outbursts, the immediate surrender to screen time, the filming of meltdowns instead of intervening. These aren't isolated lapses. They are structural. They reward escalation. The moral ambiguity here is precise and cruel. Can we condemn a child for behaving exactly as she has been trained? No. Can we condemn a traumatized mother for minimizing conflict at the end of her rope? Perhaps. But can we expect you to suppress your protective instincts, to stand by while your daughter bears a physical mark from a slammed door? Absolutely not. Your aversion is not a failure of compassion. It is a testament to your clarity. You are not required to love the behavior. You are not required to sacrifice your child's safety on the altar of family harmony. I leave you with this: when a family system prioritizes the comfort of the disruptor over the physical safety of the vulnerable, where does loyalty end and complicity begin? Is it possible to love the child while refusing to participate in the machinery that shapes her into a weapon? Or does the very act of boundary setting the canceled party, the separate outings, the refusal to pretend make you the villain in a narrative you didn't author? The question isn't whether your feelings are justified. The question is, what will you tolerate in the name of peace? And what is the actual cost of that tolerance to the ones you are sworn to protect?